Good morning, children. I was busy with my exams, that's why I was not able to upload videos for many days. Now I have completed my exam, so once again I have started uploading my videos. Please like, share, and subscribe my videos. So in the last video, we have started the process of rDNA technology. We have seen the first step, that is isolation of genetic material DNA from other components like proteins, macromolecules like proteins, lipids, and all by a method which is called as spooling. And then this DNA is purified by using an organic solvent which is called as the elution. So up to there we have completed up in the last video. Now we are going to see the remaining part of the process of rDNA technology. So the next one is the cutting of DNA at specific locations. Cutting of DNA at specific locations. So the purified DNA which is obtained in the first step, now the purified DNA and the restriction enzymes, they are incubated at optimal conditions. So that these restriction enzymes will begin to cut the DNA at specific locations in order to make DNA fragments. And then these DNA fragments, they are put on agarose gel. They are put on agarose gel, and these DNA fragments, they are separated by means of gel electrophoresis, which we have already discussed. So cutting and gel electrophoresis methods we have already discussed in the last classes. So now this DNA fragment, which is having the desired gene, is put into a vector. And this vector is also cut by the same restriction enzyme which is useful for cutting the DNA. So the same restriction enzyme should be used for host DNA, source DNA, as well as the vector. And now this DNA, which is having gene of interest, is inserted into the vector. As a result, it results in the preparation of rDNA. Then this gene of interest has to be increased in its amount. So that increase in the amount of this desired DNA in the DNA, we call that as desired gene in the DNA is called as amplification. So now let us see what is the process of amplification. So the process of amplification, it involves three stages: denaturation, annealing, and extension. So these are the three stages of amplification, which is based on a technique which is called as PCR technique. PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. And it is an in vitro process. In vitro process is nothing but the laboratory. The synthesis of this gene of interest in more amounts, which is going to take place in the laboratory, which is called as in vitro method, which is done by using a PCR technique. PCR technique is nothing but polymerase chain reaction. And this has three stages: denaturation, annealing, and extension. So denaturation, so this is the DNA, and this is the part of gene of interest. So this is the part of the gene which has to be produced in more amounts. So this is the gene of interest. Now in the process of denaturation, this is heated at a very high temperature in presence of an enzyme which is called as DNA polymerase. This DNA is heated at a very high temperature. And this DNA polymerase is extracted from a bacterium which is called as the Dermis aquaticus. And this DNA polymerase, this enzyme has the capacity to resist in high temperatures. It has the capacity to resist the high temperature and allow the strands to separate. As a result of which the two strands are going to get separated. So this process of separation of double-stranded DNA into two separate strands by application at a very high temperature in presence of DNA polymerase enzyme is called as denaturation. So that is the first step. Then the next step is annealing. Where we are going to use the primers. So these primers are nothing but the synthesized oligonucleotides. oligonucleotides which are attached to the strands separately. So the process of attachment of these primers to the strands is called as annealing. The process of attachment of these primers to the strands is called as annealing. So the next step is annealing. And then the third step is extension. Third step is extension, where this DNA polymerase, it will extend the primers. It will extend the primers by adding the oligonucleotides. By adding the oligonucleotides complementary to the DNA. By adding the oligonucleotides complementary to the DNA in 5' to 3' direction. In 5' to 3' direction. So as a result, we are going to get 2 DNA molecules from one DNA. We are going to get 2 DNA molecules from one DNA. And when this process is repeated for a number of times, about for like 30 cycles, then we are going to get some billion copies of desired the gene of interest can be produced. So this method we call it as the PCR technique, which is nothing but polymerase chain reaction. So as a result of which now we have got billion copies of gene of interest. That is a laborious process which is called as in vitro method. Or it can also be this desired DNA can also be inserted into the host cell by incubating that on a culture, and the host cells, either by its number of methods like calcium chloride method, micro injection method, or biolistic method. So either through any of these methods, this recombinant DNA can be made to allow to enter into the host cell, can be made to enter into the host cell. And then the host cell, for example, E. coli cell, it is going to get transformed. So how can we know whether the cell has got transformed or not? So for that, take for example a gene of interest which is responsible for antibiotic resistance. So if the rDNA contains the genes which is giving resistance to antibiotic, for example ampicillin, is inserted into a cell, is inserted into a vector, and then it is placed in a culture. It is placed on a culture medium, which is where the host cell is going to take up this recombinant DNA. And after that, we are going to place these E. coli cells on the ampicillin antibiotic. We are going to place these E. coli cells on the antibiotic ampicillin. Now, if the cell is able to survive, that means it has the resistance, antibiotic resistance ampicillin in it. That is why it is able to survive. Then these are called as the transformed cells. Suppose if the cells are not able to survive, that means these are not having the antibiotic resistance, then those are called as the non-transformed cells. So in this way, the transformed cells and the non-transformed cells can be separated by using the gene of antibiotic resistance, which is called as a selectable marker. So the gene of resistance, which is useful for separating the transformed cells from the non-transformed cells, is called as the selectable markers. Is called as selectable markers. So that is the so in this way the second step, that means the fourth step, insertion of DNA into the host cell organism, is over. Now the last one is the obtaining the foreign gene product. The last method is the obtaining the foreign gene product. So whatever the rDNA which is introduced into the cell, it has to express in order to produce the product. In order to produce the product, the gene has to be expressed. Suppose if a protein is expressed in a heterologous host, then it is called as the recombinant protein. Then it is called as a recombinant protein. So in this, what we are going to do, we are going to culture the cells. We are going to culture the cells which are having the gene of interest on a culture medium. We are going to culture the cells which are having the gene of interest on a culture medium, and then after obtaining some amount of product, say for example some amount of protein has been produced, then that culture medium will be removed and then it will be purified by some separation techniques, and then again we are going to use another fresh medium. In this way, this is one of the method which is used in order to produce the product on a small scale. Or else in the other method, which is called as continuous culture system, where the used one will be drained out and the fresh culture will be given from the used one will be drained out from one side of the culture, and the fresh one will be getting inside into the culture medium. Thereby there will be the continuous production of the gene, as a result of which the cells will be continuously producing the product. They will be in exponential stage. So that we call it as a continuous culture system. So in these two ways, the required product, either protein, enzyme or hormone, that can be produced on small scales. But when it is produced on a small scales, it is not of that much importance. So it has to be produced in large amounts. So for production of this product on a large amount, there are certain large vessels which are called as bioreactors. These are called as bioreactors. So we have bioreactors. These are called as bioreactors. We have two types of bioreactors, which are simple stirred bioreactor and the other one is sparge stirred bioreactor. This is simple stirred tank and this is sparge stirred tank. So they will have a round base. The bioreactors will be cylindrical in shape and they will have a round base here. And then they will have one agitator. So it will be useful for mixing, and the oxygen will be evenly available to this. So this we call it as the culture broth. So this culture broth, there will be continuous mixing thoroughly, and as a result of which here they will be converted into, by using the human cells or plant cells or bacterial cells, the product will be converted into products. The raw material will be converted into products. So whereas in this system here we are going to introduce gas, as a result of which more amount of bubbles will be produced. Oxygen will be available to this. So such a tank we call it as the sparge stirred tank. Sparge stirred tank. Now, so all these bioreactors will have all the appropriate conditions like oxygen delivery system, pH control system, foam control system, temperature control system, and the sampling quarters also will be present where small volumes of culture can be withdrawn periodically. So, so by the end of this, we are going to get the product. Now, the product has to be, before it is released as a product in the market, it has to undergo a series of, a series of tests. A series of process has to be done before it is released into the market, like separation, purification and all. So that process we call it as the downstreaming process. Then after that we are going to add certain preservatives. So the formulation of the preservatives also should be sent for the quality control, and then only it can be and then only it can be released into the market after the quality controlling. After it has been sent to the quality test control, then it can be released into the market. So with this we have completed biotechnology first part. In the next video we can start biotechnology and its applications in botany part. Thank you. Once again, like, share and subscribe my video.